Hello and welcome back to another video on the Wrestler's Way and to another edition of Raw out of 10. And yeah, WrestleMania 38 is now firmly in the books, and WWE are moving on to, well, WrestleMania Backlash. Yeah, it's just a few weeks away. But yeah, big show coming out today, lots going on. Cody Rhodes' first TV match, and much more. So let's get straight into it. And it kicked off with a recap of Cody Rhodes' promo from last week, and The Miz came out to join him in the ring. He called out Cody to join him, and immediately started making fun of him. Cody fired back and called The Miz an obnoxious carny before mentioning that he was back in a company to win the undisputed Universal title. The Miz said Cody's chances that match tonight looked slim before trying to attack, and Cody dodged the A-lister's attack and tossed him onto the mat before the latter retreated backstage. Decent start to the show, really. It's still got Cody coming out for the pops and everything like that, and yeah, just set up the match for later. Before we got Veer versus Dominik. Dominik got some hits in early on, but Veer no-sold all of them. Mahan then wiped Dom out, and the match went outside where Veer took a big drop kick. Dom then tried for a crossbody, but Veer caught him. Veer then hit a big lariat outside the ring and brought Dom back into the ring before hitting another one. Veer followed out with a jumping seated senton and locked in the cervical clutch for the victory. Veer kept the hold locked in, and a group of officials had to break it up before Dominik was carried away in a stretcher and put into an ambulance. I didn't have a problem with this at all, really. It made Veer look ultra dominant, and for all the hype, it's been a pretty decent start to his run, so 6 out of 10. Backstage, AJ Styles attacked Damien Priest, and the two had to be separated, and that led straight into the match. Priest was sent outside early on before Styles got a knee strike, a diving forearm off the apron. AJ was then back in and hit another dive over the ropes to the outside, taking Priest down before he headed for a break. Back on Raw, AJ was still in control and got a big clothesline in the corner before getting the near fall off an inverted DDT. Priest got some big kicks and took AJ down before Styles came back with a Pele kick. Styles then tried for the phenomenal forearm, but Damien swatted him out of the air. Damien then kneeled in the middle of the ring as the lights went out and the match came to an abrupt end. This gets a 6 out of 10 from me. It probably would have got a 7 out of 10 because it was really good up to the point where obviously it got called off. I would like to see the finish, and it probably would have got a 7 out of 10, but just because it didn't, it gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Then it was time for Cody Rhodes versus The Miz. Seth Rollins came out to watch the match, and Miz got the upper hand off the early distraction but was denied. Rhodes countered an early skull-crushing finale before getting a vertical suplex. The Miz then locked in a chin lock before Cody broke out and was tossed outside the ring. Back after a break, and The Miz locked in a figure 4 leg lock, but Cody reversed it. Miz then got a hold but took a cutter from the ropes. Cody then got the crossroad and picked up the win. After the match, Seth Rollins got in the ring and asked about a WrestleMania rematch, and that happened. And yeah, gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Really good win for Cody Rhodes. Great first match back. I didn't see Cody Seth coming a second time after last week's development, but definitely not against it. Yeah, that should be a really great match. 7 out of 10. Backstage, Ezekiel welcomed Tommaso Ciampa to the show before Kevin Owens came in to tell him that it was Elias. Ciampa sided with Ezekiel and Owens on this one. Great to see Ciampa on the main roster, but let's just see where it goes because Ezekiel stuff, I'm not feeling it. Naomi versus Liv Morgan is up next. Naomi and Liv countered each other's moves and got early on before Naomi got a kick in. Liz came back with a Hurricane Run. Naomi then got a big boot and they took each other out with big drop kicks. Liv tried for the Oblivion, but Naomi dodged it before hitting a powerbomb. Liv kicked out the following pin before they traded roll-ups with Naomi coming out on top. This just wasn't too great, to be honest. It gets a 5 out of 10 from me. I want to see more of the women's tag team titles, but it doesn't seem they're doing it. Bobby Lashley was out next and said that he was there to crush the VIP lounge after what happened last week. He called MVP out to the ring, and it was Omos who walked out first, followed by MVP. MVP said that when he came back to WWE, Lashley was floundering, and it was him that got Bobby back in sleep. MVP kept yelling that he made Lashley before the Almighty said that he was just on his farewell tour. MVP said that Omos was bigger and stronger and would overshadow Lashley in no time, adding that Lashley wouldn't survive the next encounter. Bobby Lashley vowed to take out Omos, and once he was done, he would destroy MVP. Yes, good story this. Definitely adds an extra dimension to the WrestleMania match. I'm enjoying it so far. Tozawa, Reggie and R-Truth were having a joint bachelor party before Truth reminded them that Dana Brooke was alone with the title. The group then headed to Brooklyn to Mina's bachelorette party to make sure nothing happens with the belt. Typical 24/7 stuff. Before backstage, Kevin Owens was trying to prove Ezekiel was Elias and got approval for a lie detector test next week. I'm kind of intrigued to see where this goes, but there's a bit of a fall off for Kevin Owens, but let's just see what happens. Next up was Bianca Belair versus Queen Zelina. Bianca got the first takedown before hitting a lung bar for a near fall. Zelina locked in a hold, but before Belair broke out and hit her fall the waist down. Zelina was being deadlifted in the ring before taking backbreaker. Bianca then got the KOD and picked up the victory. It gets a 6 out of 10 from me. It was a decent enough match, but always a straightforward win for Bianca. Kind of seems like the Zelina feud as Zelina push has kind of died out. Sonya was then out next to announce Bianca Belair's next title opponent. to reveal the title was very difficult, and Belair signed the contract before the name of the opponent was announced. Bianca signed the contract and waited for the challenger to show up, and Sonya attacked her and revealed she would be the opponent. I mean, like, kind of surprising, kind of not surprising. But yeah, that'll be a really good match. But on the whole, this segment gets 6 out of 10. Both Lotharios then showed up at Dana Brooke and Tamina's bachelorette party. Naomi Ash tried to pin Brooke, but Tamina wiped her out as Truth and the guys showed up. R-Truth said he would officiate the weddings and called out off the 24/7 titles until the double wedding takes place. Before we got RK Bro versus Alpha Academy, Riddle and Chad kicked off this match, and Randy was tagged in early on with Chad being isolated. Gable made the tag and got an assistant German suplex before Otis took control. Back after the break, Otis got a splash on Riddle for a near fall. Orton came in and got a power slam before hitting a Dre PD and EC on Gable. Randy set out the RKO, but Gable counted it into Blackside. The Viper then followed up with an RKO for the victory. I just feel like we've seen this match so much times now. By that, and it's all kind of the same. The Usos were then in the arena to announce their tag team title unification match. After break, RK Bro and Usos were in the ring, and the initial trash talking Jimmy and Jay made a title unification challenge. Riddle compared the match to the Avengers before Street Profits showed up. The Profits called the Usos for taking away their future tag team title shot. Orton proposed the Usos and Street Profits fight it out, and that they did in the main event. Montez and Jimmy kicked off the match, and the Usos took control early on, but their show passing allowed Ford to drag Jimmy into the corner and isolate him. Angelo was then in and took a double team breaker elbow before Jey Uso got a near fall. A brawl broke out at ringside, which sent Jay Dawkins at RK Bro before the two had a stare down. Ford came in with a dive and took down the Usos. Back after a break, the Profits hit a double team move from the top rope for a near fall. The Usos then hit super kicks on Dawkins for a near fall, but Ford came in with a frog splash for a near fall of his own. The Usos hit a 1D on Ford for the victory. After the match, RK Bro got in the ring and the Usos retreated. RK Bro took out the Profits before the Usos came out and took out Randy Orton with double C kicks, posing with all 4 tag belts. And yeah, it definitely feels like the title unification is coming. Could it spell the end of a brand split with a major title story done? I don't know, it's definitely very intriguing, and yeah, the Usos RK Bro will be a great match, but I'm intrigued to see where it goes. But yeah, on the whole, just this match itself, it gets 7 out of 10 from me. Really, really good match, and yeah, probably the right result. Overall, Raw this week gets a 6 out of 10 from me. I mean, like, it was a decent episode of Raw this week. Some good aspects in there, some not so good aspects in there, but we kind of just come to expect that from Raw. But on the whole, for what it was, I thought it was a perfectly solid episode of Raw. And yeah, still building up views for WrestleMania Backlash, and that's looking like an interesting show. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Thanks very much for watching. I want to like, share, subscribe, hit the thoughts, comments down below. Find us in the description for daily wrestling news, and subscribe to my channel on screen, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.